I was saying, y'all, your boy Rico from StreetScores. It's coming out a little later than I wanted it to, but I'm finally here with my Commanders versus Giants Week 1 preview, and I'm going to give you my prediction of score and why at the end of the video. We have a lot to discuss. We have injury report updates for both the Commanders and the Giants, even some roster moves that were made earlier today that may reflect what our injury report may actually realistically look like. But Malik Nabers and Andrew Thomas both potentially hurt, their star receiver and their star left tackle. Not to brag, a Georgia Bulldog. Are the Commanders poised to blow out the Giants, or are the Giants a sleeping giant that could end up catching the Commanders off guard? And I even have a very interesting stat as to why Terry McLaurin needs to get fed a lot in this Week 1 game. You're going to want to definitely stick around for that one. But before we get into everything, make sure you stiff on that like button, stiff on the subscription button, stiff on with the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Appreciate y'all for supporting the videos and everything like that. Appreciate y'all, man. Shouts out to watch all the way through the end gang, man. Really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to my late night crew that's there even when I'm uploading videos at 4 a.m. man. Shouts out to both of those communities, especially those of y'all that are a part of both, man. Big salute to y'all. Without further ado, let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. And of course, I will be live streaming this upcoming game that's going down tomorrow, Sunday, September 7th, versus the New York Giants at 1 p.m. I'm going to start live streaming at 12 p.m. I'm not playing with y'all. We have a lot to discuss before the game actually starts. We could even start to talk about like season predictions, not only just predictions for the Giants game, but overall what we predict the season will be, stats for maybe for specific players. Like, we have a lot to discuss in an hour. I mean, I honestly could probably start before an hour, like 2 hours before, but I'm going to start at 12. The game starts at 1. Of course, I'll be doing a live stream play-by-play analysis of everything going on in the game. And I updated some of my GIFs now, so I no longer have Brian Robinson and Fedarian Mathis dancing when we get a touchdown and stuff like that. I made sure I handled that. So, man, I'm super excited. But first of all, we got to dive into who the team captains are. So your captains for this game, and you remember last year we had like this rotation of like it was a different 3 people every week, and then once we got to the playoffs it was like the real captains. Seems like Dan Quinn has gotten rid of that whole captain thing we had going on from last year. Now instead of like a rotation of captains, or maybe this is just a Week 1 thing, who knows, but it seems like going into Week 1, going into this 2025 season, the captains will be who truly deserve to be captain the most. Because I kind of liked what we did last year. It was our rookie year with this coaching staff, front office, and a lot of these players and stuff like that. So, like, when we played the Tennessee Titans, they let Marcus Mariota be a captain because he used to play for the Tennessee Titans. That's where he got drafted, and I like that. Zach Ertz was a captain against the Eagles. That made a lot of sense. But it seems like there's straight business this year. Jaden Daniels is your offensive captain. Bobby Wagner is your defensive one. And Jeremy Reed is your special teams captain. It makes too much sense. That's how it's supposed to be. Again, I'm not sure if Dan Quinn is going to go back to the rotation of musical chairs for team captain, but for now it looks like we're straight business this year. Shouts out to Disco. He said, I understood this whole bit last season, but not this year. Jaden Daniels is the captain of this team. Put a permanent C on his chest and stop the tomfoolery. I completely agree. I always felt that, again, I understood what Dan Quinn was doing all throughout last year, but it was always weird that Jaden Daniels was not the captain for most of last season. I'm not even sure if he was ever a captain in any regular season game. I know he was once we finally started to take the captain stuff seriously when we got to the postseason, but I'm not sure if Jaden Daniels was ever a regular season captain, and I don't want to ever go back to that. Please. Also, Dan Quinn said that he talked to the players about the things that the refs are emphasizing, you know, because you get a new memo like every year in the offseason, like, hey, just heads up, 32 NFL teams, these are some of the calls that we're really looking towards, you know, calling, and it may be like a dramatic change one way or the other, where we're going to look at it less or we're going to look at it more compared to what you're used to from last year, or maybe even from the preseason. And one of those things included unsportsmanlike conduct. And just watch out. Like, that's something that the refs are emphasizing, and I'm happy that Dan Quinn is aware of that and that he's making sure the players are aware of that, so be on the lookout. But there's probably other things as well, like we're going to pay more attention to holding penalties, we're going to pay more attention to these penalties here and there, and I liked how often we brought refs to training camp practices. I would have loved if we had them at every practice, but I'm happy that we had them to a few important ones, and that's why having joint practices are important as well. Now let's dive into the injury updates, of course, starting with the Washington Commanders. And as you can see, I mean, we're relatively clean. I mean, we have 5 people on the injury report, but it's really not that bad, to be honest with you, man. Because Dorrance Armstrong is great to go. He was limited with the knee injury Wednesday and Thursday, participated fully yesterday, Friday, September 5th, the final practice before the game. And then kicker Matt Gay and Marcus Mariota, full participants all week. Matt Gay with the illness and Marcus Mariota dealing with the Achilles injury that he was dealing with all season. And then apparently Noah Brown and Jonathan Jones, even though they were limited Wednesday and Thursday, and then you see did not participate on Friday, Dan Quinn is claiming that it was rest. He said, because he talked about the fact that Noah Brown and Jonathan Jones had a rest day yesterday, that's why they weren't practicing. But he said every single person should be good to go Sunday against the New York Giants. A 100% healthy team, which is very interesting because most teams aren't. I mean, of course, we're excluding Samuel Cosme, who's on the PUP list. Outside of that, this team, I guess including Samuel Cosme, is like 99% healthy. And we should be very thankful of that because a lot of teams have already lost significant starters, not only for the majority of the season, but all season already. So we did really well this offseason to manage that. And again, those vet rest days, those Wednesdays, man, they hit different. Zach Ertz, Bobby Wagner getting those vet rest days every week. I'm pretty sure Von Miller is going to join in on that as well. I mean, hey, we got 20 games each from from Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz last year. And those vet rest days played a huge role into that. So let's keep that going. And again, from our side, we don't have a lot going on. We're good to go. Nobody else is on the injury report. You have Samuel Cosme, who's not here because he's on the PUP list. The soonest he'll be available is that Week 5 game against the Los Angeles Chargers. And they look good, man. The way they beat those Chiefs, don't sleep on them. But other than that, man, we're good to go. And I'm just going to take his word that Noah Brown and Jonathan Jones are better than what it looks on this practice report. Now, even then, Jonathan Jones is a backup corner. You know, your starters are Trenavian Amos, Marshall Lattimore on the outside, Mike Sanford still on the inside. And then Jonathan Jones is right behind those guys as part of the rotation, maybe. But even then, we have Noah Benogany when in doubt. That's your 5th corner. He was your starting slot corner for the majority of the season last year. And now he's a backup. So you're good to go. Like, you're solid. It's a complete difference going from Michael Davis, Benjamin St-Juste, and Emmanuel Forbes going into week 1 of last year compared to what we have this year. So even if Jonathan Jones is banged up, even if he is not available to play against the Giants, we are far better off going into this game without Jonathan Jones than we were last year, not even having him on the roster at all, because we could have really used them last year, I'll tell you that. And then Noah Brown, of course, you will hope that your pure wide receiver 2 is ready, even though Deebo Samuel is your weapon number 2. If Terry McLaurin is your weapon number 1, Deebo Samuel is your weapon number 2. But if we're talking about pure wide receiver nuance, ultimately, schematically, you think Noah Brown is like your other outside receiver, Terry McLaurin is your X, and then Noah Brown is your Z, and then Deebo Samuel is your Y, your slot, technically. But I mean, we'll see. Hopefully he's healthy. We didn't even have him last year, week 1, when we went against the Giants. Remember that? Like, we had to go into that game week 2, whatever. It was week 2. We played the Bucks week 1. We went against the Giants week 2. And then Noah Brown didn't really get to start playing until, like, the second half. And he balled out in that second half. He was really important for, like, Jaden Daniels' development and stuff like that. But if he's not able to go, I don't think that severely hurts our chances of winning. I still love what we have on offense even without him. If we have him, that's great. But, you know, I'm not, like, super duper worried if we don't have them. And then also, now moving on to the Giants injuries. Now, their issue is a little weird because yesterday, Andrew Thomas was listed with a foot injury as doubtful for this game. Not even just questionable, doubtful. Now, they haven't officially ruled him out just yet, but it's not looking likely that Andrew Thomas will be going. And then Malik Nabers, out of nowhere, he wasn't on the injury report earlier in the week, I believe, but suddenly, yesterday, again, Friday, September 5th, he appeared with a back injury on the injury report and was not given any particular injury designation. And he is expected to play Sunday versus the Commanders, but maybe he'll be a little hobbled. Shouts out to Josh Taylor. He brought up the fact that, hey, man, Andrew Thomas out, either rookie Marcus Imbaugh or veteran swing tackle James Hudson III would have to start at left tackle instead. And Commanders, if it's not Andrew Thomas starting, we're going to be after Russell Wilson all day, man. He said this is a big advantage for the Commanders defense, and maybe defensive coordinator Joe Wood Jr. will also bring in some extra blitzes from that left side with Frankie Louvu. Thomas isn't the only one on the Giants injury report that the Giants are worried about, though, because star wide receiver Malik Nabers also missed practice on Friday with back tightness, even though he is expected to play. The Giants, there was a Giants reporter that said the Giants will back down on wide receiver Malik Nabers at Friday's practice. Per coach Brian Daboll, he's dealing with back tightness. Daboll seems confident that it's not a big thing. He said, quote, he'll be all right. He'll be all right, unquote. But going back to Josh Taylor, but even if Malik Nabers does play on Sunday, how well will Nabers feel? Getting tackled the wrong way or a bad landing can set him back with this injury, no pun intended. You know, Frankie Louvu's out there headhunting. Malik Nabers knows that better than anybody else. I think after last season was over, when we got to the offseason, Malik Nabers said his welcome to the NFL moment was Frankie Louvu hitting him the way that he did back in that week 2 matchup last season. So the Commanders will still have to make sure that they don't let Nabers do what he did last season against us, and the secondary is much improved, so that's going to help a lot. But the Commanders are heading into Sunday with a pretty much fully healthy team ready to go, while the Giants have to monitor 2 important pieces on their offense they will need for the long haul. So maybe they hold back Thomas and keep Nabers, even if he does play on a snap count, to not risk more long-term injury. That's a thing. You know, it's so early in the season that maybe if Malik Nabers has any sort of injury, no matter how light, maybe even if he does play, they don't play him too much. So we'll see. And then shouts out to Real Robinson because he brought up a great point. Look at these stats right here. When Andrew Thomas doesn't play, the Giants are not it. Real Robinson said, y'all better pray for Russell Wilson if Andrew Thomas doesn't play, because as you can see, with Andrew Thomas, they scored 19.4 points per game last year. Without him, 12.3. Their record without Andrew Thomas, I guess this is over the course of a couple of seasons, 6-10 with him, 3-15 without him. I know that's not that dramatic of a difference, but hey, man, that points per game being more than 7 points per game difference is insane. And without Andrew Thomas, that offense is nowhere near the same. And yeah, you better pray for Russell Wilson, man, because I know Von Miller, Dorrance Armstrong, Javon Kinlaw, Deron Payne, Dietrich Wise, even Jacob Martin is part of the rotation. Oh, they can't wait to get at him. Frankie Louvu, I'm pretty sure, especially with like a younger rookie left tackle that they could potentially start there, or the veteran swing tackle. Either way, neither of those guys have a lot of time and chemistry with the right guard, with the left guard that's next to them. So we could throw a lot of stunts their way. We could throw a lot of disguised blitzes, and we're going to test the chemistry there. It's not even a matter of talent. It's a matter of chemistry and communication with the left guard that's next to them. And if that left guard has enough chemistry with whoever's going to end up starting the left tackle week 1, if Andrew Thomas is not able to go. And even if Andrew Thomas is going, he's going to be hobbled. He's going to be banged up. He's not going to be 100%. We can take advantage of that, and I'm expecting Joe Wood Jr. to attack that a lot. But now before we move on to the rest of this video, again, football is back. We're close. I mean, there's already been a couple of games. We had a Thursday game, and then we had a Friday game on YouTube, so that was interesting in itself. And then now we're coming up on Sunday, where the Commanders make their week 1 debut versus the New York Giants for the 2025 season, man. We are officially back, and which means you have a chance to 100 times your cash on daily fantasy football. Washington football has never been more exciting than it is now with elite offensive players. Again, like I keep saying, top 5 quarterback Jaden Daniels, paid and happy Terry McLaurin, and proved to everybody I still got it and I'm not fat Deebo Samuel, and many other Commanders players. Pick on stats for these stars like touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, and more for up to 100 times payout on Sleeper. If you're right on your picks, you can win big money and use promo code SCORE, that's SCORE, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. You can even click the link at the top of the description in this video and every video on live stream I'll be doing all season. And just in case if y'all don't know about combo play, you can miss picks on your sleeper entry and you can still cash in with combo plays. And again, it's not just the Commanders and the NFL. You can also play daily fantasy with the NBA, MLB, NHL, college football, college basketball, and the WNBA on Sleeper. Entries can be made in 30 seconds or less. They have a safe and fast withdrawal process. Of course, terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details, and they have a $1 minimum entry for users. But of course, I like to show y'all with some of the picks I like to get into directly on the screen for y'all to see on the phone. And y'all know me, man. I'm gonna pull up that NFL popular duos. As you can see, you go straight to the app. You have the top 12 most popular duos that you can bet on. They give you like examples, and I'm just scrolling through right now just off the random, and hey, our boy Brian Robinson that we traded to the San Francisco 49ers, maybe he will get a touchdown. So I'm looking at that one because We'll see. Christian McCaffrey is apparently banged up. I'm seeing recently that he may play, but even if Christian McCaffrey is fully healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Robinson gets some of the goal line carries because that's typically what he's best for. He's like a short yardage back type of guy. So if you believe, like you can see on the screen right now, that Brian Robinson will get any sort of a touchdown, whether it be running or receiving, or even Bucky Irvin versus that Falcons defense that has a lot of talent, but is still pretty raw. They still have a lot of chemistry issues to work through, that I don't think that Falcons defense is going to really get going to its potential until like maybe October, November. They're very talented, but I think you can catch them lacking early, like I believe we will do against them. I think we play them week 4. But either way, Bucky Irvin, anytime touchdown. Brian Robinson, anytime touchdown. You can put 10 and get back 22.7. You can put 20, get back 45.4. You can put 100 and get back 227, as long as Brian Robinson and Bucky Irvin score at least one touchdown in their upcoming games this weekend. Again, hit that promo code SCORE, SCORE, and pull up the sleeper, man. Now let's get back to this Giants preview, man. Let's whoop these boys. Shouts out to Mark Phillips. He brought up a great point that the Commanders targeted Terry McLaurin 8 or more times 6 games last year. If you just had to guess, before I even told you, what was our record in those games? Like, how many games did we win? How many games did we lose? I'm stalling right now because I'm giving y'all time to think of a number. But out of those 6 games, how many of those games did we win as long as we targeted Terry McLaurin 8 or more times? How about undefeated 6-0? So that's the formula moving forward just in general for this season. But especially against these New York Giants week 1, man, with a fairly weak cornerback group. I love their pass rush. I love their defensive line. I like their front 7 a lot. I even really like their safeties, especially after adding Javon Holland from the Miami Dolphins. But that cornerback room is exposable, man. Deontay Banks over there, man, hey, we can take advantage of that. I think Terry needs some targets, whether it's down the field, middle of the field, on the outside, behind the line of scrimmage. Get Terry McLaurin 8 or more targets, man, and we should eat up against them. So that's like my biggest stat key for this game. If I had to say like one statistic that matters the most, how many targets Terry McLaurin gets in this game. I know we have a lot of weapons. We're excited about Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt at running back. We're super excited about Deebo Samuel and how he's going to be utilized in this offense, and I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to bring out the best of him. I don't think, like I've already said, I don't think he's going to have the surface numbers, like overall yards as much as he had in that crazy 2021 season he had with the 49ers, but I think on a per snap basis, he's going to be more efficient. I think he's a more nuanced wide receiver, route running, release package, and tracking the ball wise and stuff like that. I think he's going to be a very important part of this team, but I still think even with Zach Ertz being the safety blanket, with all the excitement that we have for Jalen Lane in the 4th round as a rookie, I still think that Terry McLaurin needs 8 or more targets, plain and simple. That's my stat of the day that I need to focus on. If Terry comes away with 8 or more targets in that game, we win. Again, we went 6-0 last year when we did that. Let's keep that going, man. We're undefeated when we do that. Shouts out to Mark Phillips for that stat. Now moving on to the Commanders roster updates, because earlier today we elevated center Michael Dieter and wide receiver Chris Moore. Yeah, y'all boy Chris Moore from the practice squad. And so is this bad news for Noah Brown's knee injury potentially? Why do you need Chris Moore from the practice squad if you feel like Noah Brown can play? Because if we have a healthy Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, and Noah Brown, why do you need Chris Moore? And even beyond that, even if Noah Brown is hurt, Chris Moore instead of Ja'Cory Brooks. So I'm questioning this whole thing. I'm like, what's going on here? Why not Ja'Cory Brooks? We saw Chris Moore drop so many great throws in the preseason. The very few times that Sam Hartman and Josh Johnson made some good throws this offseason, Chris Moore was there to drop them for absolutely no reason. I don't know how we could ever depend on him to touch that field and make a catch when we need it, when he couldn't even do it against the backups of the backups in the preseason. So I'm very worried about Chris Moore, not even necessarily because that's a sign that maybe Noah Brown is hurt worse than we thought, and maybe he isn't ready to play week 1 tomorrow versus the New York Giants at 1 p.m. I'm not worried about that as much. I'm more so worried about who we're replacing Noah Brown with, and that's Chris Moore. I think go ahead and sign the buddy that came in from the workout, man, Kendrick Bourne from the Patriots. Go ahead and get him over Chris Moore, man. I don't care if he doesn't know the playbooks. At least he can catch an open pass, please. And then also with the Michael Dieter situation, of course, you know, if Allegretti is starting at right guard, we technically don't have a backup center. It's like Tyler Biadasz is your starting Pro Bowl center. I want to emphasize Pro Bowl. But if we have to go to a backup center because Tyler Biadasz is hurt, Nick Allegretti is the only guy that's qualified, or at the very least is cross-trained as a center this entire offseason. So honestly, you may be better off with starting Andrew Wiley at right guard so that Nick Allegretti can be a backup center. But instead, it sounds like to me Nick Allegretti is for sure starting at right guard. First of all, I showed y'all a couple of days ago that he was getting all of the first team reps next to Josh Connolly and Tyler Biotish in the practices that we did a couple of days ago. But also, with the fact that we're elevating Michael Dieter to be your backup center, that means they're expecting Allegretti to be too busy right guarding for you to where he can't be a backup center if Tyler Biotish were to get hurt. So that should kind of give you an idea of what our starting offensive lineman is going to be going into this game tomorrow. Yeah, from left to right, Laramie Tunsil, Brandon Coleman, Tyler Biotish, Nick Allegretti, and Josh Connolly, with Andrew Wiley and George Fant as like your backup tackles, Trent Scott is like a backup guard, and then Michael Dieter, elevated from the practice squad, as your backup center. Also, shouts out to Chris Russell. He brought up the point that, now moving on from that whole situation, Chris Russell said the Washington Commanders will welcome a record-setting number of fans to Northwest Stadium for the regular season kickoff against the New York Giants on Sunday, because the tickets have sold out, just to let you know. Due to extreme demand, Commanders parking passes for Sunday's matchup are officially sold out as well. So that stadium is going to be loud and hype. It's going to be filled with so much burgundy and gold. We're going to have a true home field advantage, and I think even if we were playing in New York, we would win the game by a significant amount of points. But I think it's going to be unbearable for the Giants still trying to work out a lot of their kinks. With Russell Wilson still working to build some chemistry with like Malik Nabers and the other receivers. The offensive line, especially with Andrew Thomas potentially being out. Them trying to communicate with each other, let alone communicate with Russell Wilson. And the stadium is too loud. They're going to get some delay of games and stuff like that. I think the crowd is going to play a part into how the Commanders end up winning this game. I think the crowd is definitely going to help us. Also, Jake Russell pointed out the fact that on call for the Sunday's Commanders-Giants game on Fox, you have Kevin Burkhardt, play-by-play, Tom Brady as your color analyst, Aaron Andrews as your sideline, and Tom Rinaldi as your sideline as well, which, to the point of Chad Ryan, Week 1 Giants at Washington gets the NFL on Fox #1 broadcast team. That's a sign that the Commanders have well and truly arrived, because how many times last year did we have Mark Sanchez, and Kenny Albert? And that's a great point. And I know that we don't have the #1 broadcast team because of the Giants. That's us pulling all of the weight. Just like we have that Sunday night game against the Seattle Seahawks. When is that? That's November 2nd, Sunday night at 8:20 p.m. That's a primetime game in Landover, Maryland at Northwest Stadium. I know that's us carrying the weight of that game as well, while that one's even a Sunday night game. And I'm pretty sure we have the #1 broadcast team of Fox because it's us, not because of the Giants, because of us. I mean, I guess division rivalry is Week 1. Things get weird. You just saw the Chargers beat the Chiefs, but I'm pretty sure that's more so a sign that, hey, the NFL truly believes that we are here. We are must-watch TV. We're going to give them, the Commanders, our best broadcast team that we have to offer. I love that. Also, shouts out to the Commanders. I don't know if y'all saw, but the Commanders are putting helmets in the back of the end zone, man, and I love this. I'm super happy to see that. Shouts out to the Commanders for this move, man. I absolutely love this, man. And shouts out to Disco too. He said, I think Josh Harris and his ownership group have done just about as much as they could do with the Northwest Stadium outside of getting a new one. They've upgraded so many seats. They added more seats to the stadium. I'm working on a video right there to kind of break down like how business is booming for the Commanders right now. Jaden Daniels is the hope of the NFL. He's projected to be the next face based off of surveys done around the NFL, league offices and players and stuff like that. And then on the business side, we are the biggest, most profitable, growing business in the entire NFL out of all 32 NFL teams. And in that video, I was going to talk about, and I'm still working on it, how like the Commanders have added more seats to the stadium. That's why it's going to be a record-setting amount of people watching this game. It's sold out with more seats added, so that's going to be a fun environment in itself. And to Disco's point, I completely agree, man. Everything that they could do with the skeleton of the old FedEx Field, they've maximized it. They've added more seats. They've done all of these nice behind-the-scenes things like the suites and the shouts out to the Commanders' history and the Sean Taylor stuff and all of that. They've done everything they can, and now they've added an extra wrinkle to it with the helmets in the end zone. And then also, remember, going into this game, the Commanders are placing Santana Moss in the Ring of Fame. number 89, man. So don't forget that, man. You got to be there to watch that. Pull up to my stream, watch the game, make sure you have the game up early. Don't just pull up at 1 p.m. because before then or I think maybe it's halftime. It's either halftime or before the game. More than likely halftime, probably. Santana Moss will be honored. He'll be added to the Ring of Fame for the Burgundy and Gold for the Washington Redskins, Washington football team, Washington Commanders, whatever you want to call them. And I feel like that's a beautiful moment. And then now also moving on from that, JP Finley was talking to PFT commenter about the 2025 Washington Commanders. He said, quote, going into a season with expectations is a different feeling for us. I completely agree. We've never had expectations. Last year, we had a lot of hope. There would never, no season of me being alive as a Burgundy and Gold fan have I had expectations going into a season. This is very rare territory for me, man. And he also said, quote, I think we're going to be a better team, but the record might not be as good as last year, unquote. And I think that's an interesting point, that we could be a better team, but maybe some 50-50 things don't go our way. But shouts out to Dominique Foxworth, because he was on the Bomani Jones show on Friday, yesterday, I believe. And or was it last week or either just yesterday? He brought up the point that, yeah, some people are saying that, yeah, maybe some of those 50-50 things may not go the way towards the Commanders like they did last year, like how they were historically great on fourth downs and stuff like that. But he brought up the point that, well, what if Jaden Daniels and this offense and this overall team is just so much better that they're not even in those 50-50 situations anymore? What if they're just scoring touchdowns at will and they're not even in as many fourth down situations and stuff like that? And I felt like that was a great point to bring up again from Dominique Foxworth, that is not a Commanders fan in any way, shape, or form. I feel like that was a great rebuttal to people saying, hey, the Commanders may regress. Hey, Jaden Daniels may regress, because you can't be that great on offense. You can't be that great in late game situations where you have like 5-6 games in a row ending in one final score. You having game-winning drives, overtime, stuff like that. Dominique Foxworth is like, well, how about if the Commanders are just so great, especially Jaden Daniels, he gets even better, and now they're not in that Falcons game never even goes into overtime. They're up 14 by the end of the game. What if, stuff like that? So I thought that was a great point, and that was one of the main reasons I want to bring up that conversation. Also, shouts out to JP Finley for bringing this up right here. And this is like a map showing what everybody's Super Bowl predictions will be. And I don't know, I guess down here in Atlanta, they believe in the Ravens more than the Falcons, understandably so, but it's interesting that they picked the Ravens. I don't know, maybe because black quarterback, black place, I don't know, but that's pretty cool. But of course, with the Washington Commanders, we dominated Virginia, dominated North Carolina especially as well, and West Virginia. But of course, Maryland, they can have the Ravens because that's the only place that the Ravens have. You see that small little speck right there. But hey, shouts out to the Commanders for dominating the rest of the space. And you just have the Ravens scrambled around random places on the map. And then of course the Eagles with them winning it last year, especially in dominant fashion. A lot of people expect them to win. Shouts out to the 49ers for being homers up there. Shouts out to the Packers for being homers. Shouts out to the Lions for being homers. And I don't know why the Saints believe in the Bengals. Oh, you know what? Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. That's why the Saints believe in them so much. That's hilarious. But either way, I just thought this was a cool map to show y'all real quick. Now, for my final prediction for the game. I have the Commanders winning 31-13. I feel like we're going to have a mirroring score, maybe 41-14. Who knows? But I'm going to keep it safe with 31-13 because I feel like, honestly, things are very wacky early on in the season, especially week one. I feel like our defense needs some time to gel. A lot of these guys haven't necessarily played with each other in real game situations because we sat a lot of our starters, majority of them, even in the Bengals preseason game where we played some starters, but none of them played in the week one preseason game against the Patriots, and we played the backups of the backups out there in that week 3 preseason game against the Ravens. So there's probably still going to be some chemistry issues there, but I feel like the Giants still have some chemistry issues to work with offensively, so we'll see. But my point is, I think both offenses will move the ball very well against each other's defenses. I think we'll move the ball very well against the Giants defense. I think the Giants will move the ball pretty well against our defense and convert some third downs. But I think at the end of the day, the Commanders are going to score a bunch of touchdowns from our drives. I think the Giants are going to score more so field goals. So that's why I'm predicting us to have 31 points. That's 4 touchdowns and a field goal compared to the Giants where they score 1 touchdown and 2 field goals or something like that. Or maybe like 31-16. Maybe they score 1 touchdown and 3 field goals because, again, I see them moving the ball quite a bit. Maybe the Giants go for it on 4th down one time and don't get it, even though they get down to like our 20-yard line or something like that. I see them going 20-20 quite a bit. I just don't see them, actually putting it all the way in for touchdowns. I see us doing that. And again, especially with Andrew Thomas unlikely to play, or even if he does, he'll be banged up. I have the Commanders getting after Russell Wilson a lot. I see him absolutely going through it, not even wanting to play NFL football anymore by the time we're done with them, with Javon Killer up the middle, Von Miller and Dorrance Armstrong coming from the outside, Frankie Louvu blitzing occasionally. And again, I really want to emphasize to y'all how much Joe Jr. really wanted to blitz with our DBs and do some really complicated blitz packages, disguise pressures and stuff like that, but we just couldn't because our cornerback group was so bad last year. But you saw last year's preseason, I think we blitzed like Quan Martin one time, and it worked. Mike Samverstill one time or something like that a couple of times, and it would work. Then we got to the regular season, we tried the same stuff against the Buccaneers week 1, and our corners just couldn't even hold up. They were getting cooked so quickly that Joe Jr. was like, all right, I guess we got to get better personnel so I can run the plays I want to run. So don't be surprised if this year not only our pass rush is better just because our front seven, especially our defensive line, is way better at rushing the passer, let alone our ability to stop the run, so to put teams in 3rd and long situations more often than we did last year, so they could just pin their ears back and go straight after the quarterback. We're going to rush the passer because of that as well. But even the third reason, I think because our coverage is so much better, we finally have a group of corners that can actually go out there and cover receivers one-on-one. We could truly run some man coverage and stuff like that. Joe Jr. is going to get in this bag and really do some complicated disguise blitzes and stuff like that. I think Russell Wilson is going to be in purgatory tomorrow. I really, truly believe that. And yeah, that Giants pass rush may be pretty good as well. It's really loaded, it's very talented, but Cliff Kingsbury is going to call up those screens to neutralize that. Plus, we went out this offseason to make sure that we have an offensive line that can just straight up neutralize the Giants and the Eagles pass rush. Just straight up, mano y mano, 5 versus 4 or 5. We don't necessarily even have to call a bunch of screens because we have Laramie Tunsil on one side, Josh Connolly on the other side, and they're just going to neutralize every pass rusher that they send at us more times than not anyway. And Jaden Daniels has ascended. He was a top 5 quarterback last year. I think he has a strong campaign to be the MVP of the season this year. I believe what Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson won MVPs their second years of like officially fully starting, because you know Pat Mahomes is weird because he technically started like the last game of his rookie season. Then his second year he fully started the season, and then his third year he won MVP. But technically his second full season of starting he won MVP. I think Jaden Daniels can do the same thing because if anything, I mean, he got off to a better start than either of those quarterbacks. So why wouldn't he be able to win MVP this year? And if Jaden Daniels going to win MVP, it starts week 1 by tearing up that Giants defense and making their pass rush look useless. And again, I trust Cliff Kingsbury, especially with a way better run game now. I'm thinking Ja'Cory Cross-Kamara is going to have a strong impact, even if he's technically not starting. I think his explosion is going to cause the defense, the Giants defense, to stack more into the box. Jaden Daniels is going to be able to eat up against that as well. Deebo Samuel, you saw the handoff he got in that one run in the backfield from the Bengals. You know what I'm saying? Now, after seeing that in that Bengals preseason game, now the Giants and all opponents this season have to acknowledge the fact that, hey, when Deebo Samuel is motioning pre-snap, you have to acknowledge that and you know, kind of shift the defense that way. Well, what if we don't give Deebo Samuel the ball? Now everything on the left side is open. I'm telling you, we're going to be always one step ahead. We're going to be playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Again, I have 31-16, maybe 41-16. I ain't going to lie. But somewhere around there, my original prediction was 31-13. I'm going to stick with that. But I'm thinking that, again, Giants get a lot of field goals, we get a lot of touchdowns, and we walk away with a convincing win. Not some last second stuff, a convincing win. Shouts out to Dominique Foxworth. It feels like we're going to win some games by double-digit points a lot this season compared to last season. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you about everything discussed in the video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Really appreciate y'all for supporting the channel. Again, shouts out to my watch all the way through the end game, man. Really appreciate y'all, man. Y'all are the GOAT. If you're watching me still right now, I really appreciate you and salute you personally. Please leave a like on the way out. And of course, let me know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with any of my points. Let me know what other interesting stats that you could bring up that may have a large impact on this game, like how I brought up with Terry McLaurin, 8 or more targets, were undefeated. Let me know if you have any interesting stats like that you could put me on to before this game starts tomorrow, so maybe I could bring it up in a live stream and shout you out. And also let me know, most importantly, your score predictions and why for this game. Really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.